Welcome back to the channel. Now, if you'll remember, about the same time last year, I made a video about something called the AAF, or the Alliance of American Football. And I went through, what it was, what it was going to do, things like that. And so it was a kind of a minor league football league that kind of below the NFL. However, it managed to lose money and go under and ended up not being a very positive thing. However, this year we have a very similar situation. Another football league has entered the ring, and it is the XFL. However, this is not the first time the XFL has existed. This is actually the second incarnation of the XFL. Back in 2001, Vince McMahon, who's the same guy who's setting up this year through Alpha Entertainment, tried the same kind of thing, except he tried to make it a competitor to the NFL, which probably isn't the best idea since the NFL had been set up for about, 80 years already. The important thing that they try to do with the XFL is they try to make it more fan-based, and that's definitely a big focus for this new incarnation of the XFL. So the basics about it, well, it's successor to the original XFL. There are 8 teams, 10-week season, plus a 2-week playoff. The season starts actually pretty soon, in about 3 days. February 8th, on Saturday, will be the first week of the XFL season. The original XFL, probably part of the reasons why it failed, is it was built up in a similar way, similar marketing tactics and things in the games to that of, the WWE or the WWF, which doesn't really work as well for football. But anyways, moving into the teams, and some of the players on the teams, because similar to the AAF, there are players that have played for big colleges or have been in the NFL before that are now in the XFL and trying to get themselves either into the NFL or just back in football in general. And so the first team we have is the Dallas Renegades. And a couple notable people here are Landry Jones, who is the former backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then Lance Dunbar, who is a running back from North Texas, who is phenomenal. Next, we have the DC Defenders, who have Eli Rogers on their team, who's a wide receiver also from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Cardale Jones, the quarterback from Ohio State, who was the third quarterback that one season when they had all sorts of quarterback issues because everyone kept getting hurt. We brought them to the national championship. Next is the Houston Roughnecks, who have Sammy Coates, another former Pittsburgh Steeler. They also have Connor Cook, who was the quarterback from Michigan State when they were really good that one year, back in like 2014-ish. And then also Coney Ely, who's the defensive end for the Carolina Panthers, who in the Super Bowl had a fantastic game. It wasn't enough to keep his job in the NFL. Next is the LA Wildcats, my personal team of choice for the upcoming XFL season, who has Nick Novak, who was a kicker, who used to play for San Diego Chargers, and Sean Oakman, if you remember, defensive end from Baylor, who is a big, exciting person, and then, issues happened, assault or whatever, things like that, ended up being false, and so now he's trying his hand again at football in the XFL. Next is the New York Guardians. Luis Perez is their quarterback, one of their quarterbacks, who is a quarterback for the Birmingham Iron, one of the AAF teams. That's where he really earned his fame. Also, Matt McGloin, who's a former quarterback from Penn State. Next is the St. Louis Battlehawks, who have Taylor Heineke, who's quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, as well as Marquette King, the former punter for the Oakland Raiders, who was a pretty fun guy to watch. Next is the Seattle Dragons, who had Will Sutton, who's a defensive tackle for the Chicago Bears, and Kenneth Farrow, who's a really good receiver for Houston, the University of Houston. And finally, we have the Tampa Bay Vipers, who have the quarterback Aaron Murray, who is from Georgia, who's really good there, and Antonio Callaway, who was a wide receiver that played for Florida, University of Florida, and also the Cleveland Browns. However, he is on injured reserve as of right now, so sadly, I do not believe we'll be able to see him play. And finally, the last and probably most exciting part about this whole league is the rule changes. Lots of rules have been changed or made better, in my opinion, than the ones that are currently in the NFL or the NCAA. So there's 5 gameplay innovations, there's 5 timing changes, and there's 5 what they call common sense rules. And so the first one is, first gameplay innovation is kickoffs. So the kicker still kicks from around the same area, from the 30, and they have to kick it between the 20 and the end zone. If it goes anywhere outside of that, then it is placed on the 35-yard line. The return team's 35-yard line. The coverage team is on the 35, and the return team is on the 30, on the return team side. So they're only 5 yards apart and pretty close to the return man. Both of them can't move until the ball is caught on the kickoff. Yeah. Oh, kicks not outside the 20 are put out at the 45, not the 35. And there are no surprise onsides allowed. The next gameplay innovation is after touchdown points. Now, there are no extra points, no extra point kicks, that is. But there are 3 different conversions you can do. One from the 2, one from the 5, and one from the 10-yard line. And each one of those is 1, 2, or 3 points, respectively. And the defense can return these if they get a fumble or interception for the points that they were going for on this. Punts are different as well. Punt team can't leave until kicked, and touchbacks, so inside the 20, they go to the 35-yard line, as well as if they're out of bounds, they go to the 35. Also, there's double forward passes. This is kind of simple. In the NFL, if you throw a pass and it's forward, you cannot throw any more. In the XFL, if it's behind the line of scrimmage, you can throw as many forward passes as you want. And finally is overtime. So there's 5 rounds, similar to that of shootouts or penalty kicks. And they're from the 5-yard line. And after 5 rounds, each team gets 5 tries from the 5-yard line, alternating back and forth. If it's still tied, it goes to sudden death. So one team goes, if they make it, the other team misses or doesn't score, then the team that made it wins. Each score is 2 points. The defense cannot score. Defensive penalty equals a retry from the 1-yard line. Offensive pre-snap penalty is according to regular rules, move it back however many yards. If it's during the play, the offense, they lose possession. And the away team always starts on offense no matter what. Next are the 5 timing changes. The first is the 25-second play clock. Instead of the 40-second play clock for the NFL, which starts as soon as the play ends, it starts as soon as the ball is spotted. Next is the comeback period. After the 2-minute warning, the game clock stops until the ball is spotted, and then 5 extra seconds. Next is the up-tempo game clock. Out of bounds and incompletions will have the clock stop until it is spotted. But during the 2-minute comeback period, they will stop like how they normally would, where the game clock does not run until the play starts. Timeouts, each team only has 2 timeouts per half because there's less need because of this stoppage of time in between plays in the 2-minute period. And then finally, replay rulings. No coaches' challenges. There's a specific replay official, and the reviewable plays are plays involving possession, touching of the ball or ground, plays governed by the goal line, plays governed by boundary lines or the out of bounds, plays governed by the line of scrimmage, governed by the line to gain, so first down marker or end zone, number of players that snap the ball, and then there's also game administration, so penalty enforcement, proper down, spot of foul, and status of game clock, and then also reviews are available for disqualification of a player. And then finally, the 5 common sense rules. So instead of 2 feet in bounds in order for you to be a catch, you only need 1 foot in bounds. There's also a dedicated ball spotting official to once again try to move up the speed, because one of the main goals of the league is to have less in between time between plays. It wants to be a lot faster paced, quicker, less stoppage of time. There's also coach to player communication what they're trying to get. So specific players would have a speaker in their helmet that would be able to hear from coaches. I'm not exactly sure how the rules are going to work for that yet, but they're still working on it. There's also a simplified illegal man downfield, which isn't too extensive, but it's like within 3 yards, and you're okay due to like the RPOs that are now being used a lot more in the current game of football. And then finally, there's a shorter halftime. The halftime is only 10 minutes long, which is shorter than in the NFL and NCAA. So those are the main basic ideas of the new XFL that is coming this Saturday. I personally am extremely excited. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I obviously did not do it as much justice as the people that have actually made these rules and things like that. So if you want to actually see video representations of a lot of these new rule changes, I would go to the XFL website. There's a big thing that says rule changes, and you can just go into that, or our rules, something like that. And it has videos for a lot of the gameplay rules changes, I think it was. Gameplay innovations, yeah. It explains those in a lot more detail and with visuals as well to better understand. So that is the XFL, and I personally am extremely excited for this. It looks like it's going to be an absolute massive amounts of fun. And I hope you all enjoyed this and understand a little bit more about what the XFL is. And thank you for watching. And as always, adios.